Hello and welcome back for another Timeless video. Today we're going to be playing this mono white human Hatebears deck. The deck is really targeted at combo and combo adjacent decks. Things like Reanimator, Show and Tell, Oops All Spells, essentially the top of the meta in Timeless right now. And we're looking to just absolutely collapse our hand. We have 6 turn 1 plays that we're looking to start out with. And these are all enabled by our Ancient Tomb and Chromox. So we're really looking to have those in our opening hand. First and foremost, we can use the White Thoughtseize Thought Partition. Opponent reveals all non-land cards in their hand, and we get to make one of them white, and it's going to perpetually cost 5 to cast. So this does 2 things. First, at 5 mana, most things are unplayable in Timeless. The game's likely to be over by then anyway. And second, there are scenarios where making something white means they can no longer pitch it to a Solitude or a Force of Will. So it has double interaction. Then we have Thorn of Amethyst, taxing non-creature spells. Again, a lot of these unfair decks are trying to string together things like Chromox, Entomb Reanimate, Dark Ritual, and so forth. And so the tax is very strong in a lot of matchups. Similarly, we can Chromox out a Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, 2/1 with first strike, and also taxes non-creature spells. Then at 3 mana, we have full play set of Anointed Peacekeeper. We can tax a spell in our opponent's hands. We can tax fetch lands. Archon of Emeria, very good against a lot of decks. Not only does it let them only play 1 spell per turn, shutting off things like Storm and Dark Ritual lines, it also makes non-basic lands enter tapped. So that includes things like fetch lands, which could be extra punishing when the fetch land itself comes in tapped, and then say they fetch up a dual land that will also come into play tapped, really slowing down our opponent's game plan. And then Elite Spellbinder, removing a card from our opponent's hand and making it cost more. Similar to the Thought Partition, removing it from their hand means they can't pitch it to something else. They can't put it in off of Show and Tell. They can't discard themselves to get a Reanimate target into the graveyard. So quite powerful in a lot of matchups. Then we have some more utility type cards. Coppercoat Vanguard, acting as Lord, giving our other humans Ward 1, help us close the game out faster. Similarly with Thalia's Lieutenant, when it comes in, each other human gets a 1/1 counter, and then whenever another human enters, we get to put a 1/1 counter on the Lieutenant. Boromir, great against the Affinity deck, great against board wipes, counters all spells that are cast for free, including things like Force of Will or Daze, where they pick up an island, and then sacrificing it gives our creatures indestructible. Clarion Conqueror, shutting down activated abilities of creatures, planeswalkers, and artifacts. And 1 copy of Solitude, in case our opponent does slip something in from Reanimate, or they get a creature in off of Show and Tell. We're also running 4 copies of Witch Enchanter, which can be put in off of Show and Tell to try and snipe an Omniscience, and it can also be tucked under the Chromox. The deck is not the strongest against fair strategies like Energy, but outside of that, based on what you see in Timeless, I think we should have pretty good matchups against a lot of the decks. It is going to come down to how quickly we can play our hate pieces compared to how quickly our opponent could execute their strategy. Since if we are on the draw and we don't have an Ancient Tomb Chromox hand, our deck is likely too slow for most matchups. And this variation of the deck doesn't really answer things once they're in play very well. So the goal is to keep the board under control. That being said, let's jump into the games and see how the deck does. This hand looks good. Start with the Thorn. Looks like our opponent has Counterspell. Force of Negation. This is the Show and Tell deck it is. They play out a tap land. Would really love to draw into an Archon here early in the game. But for now, we're going to have to settle with the Peacekeeper. And it looks like they might have another force here. So completely collapsed our hand. And they probably have another Show and Tell in hand if they're willing to pitch 1 to force. Just doesn't make sense to get rid of 2 cards. For order here, we're going to play out the Copper Coat first. So if it wasn't for that double force hand, I would feel pretty good. We had a very good opening hand, but just got absolutely torn apart. Now we're at the mercy of the top of our deck. That's a good start. Third counterspell from our opponent. Absolutely brutal. I realize now I forgot to put Cavern of Souls in this Humans deck, so that is a change that we'll be making between games. Oh, we'll try again. Take Emrakul out of their hand. Now they need both a show and tell and a target, so I think this one is pretty much over. They don't usually play any type of removal in their deck. They would need to brainstorm into both pieces. It looks like we get this one. I'm proud to announce a brand new channel, Mythic Gaming Unleashed. On this channel, we'll play new games, old games, and everything in between. So if that's your thing, I encourage you to hop on over and take a look after the video and let me know what games would you like to see played. Now, back to the action. This hand, probably as good as we're going to get on the draw. We only have one Solitude, so I would not expect that to be in our opening hand very often. Opponent already has something in underneath of our Thorn. They're going to take the Witch Enchanter, most likely. That's what I would take. But if they're on any type of Storm deck, the Thorn of Amethyst should win the game. They go with an Anointed Peacekeeper, shock in, and then reanimate. That's actually pretty good, but it's not going to win them the game. Brutally slow play. Going to, let's see, like I say, it doesn't matter which way we play these out in. We'll play out the Conqueror here. That also turns off the Chromox. I think that was probably a bit of a mistake. We'll just take it. They made that cost more. So let's see. Don't necessarily want to damage ourselves more. Could play out a chump blocker. I think we'll just play this out tapped. We're currently winning the race. Opponent only has 1 mana. Now we can just trade with it. They're really far away from casting this reanimate. They can't really bolt in their lands. And that's just going to be game. I think this hand is way too slow on the draw. This one is not much better, but we'll give it a try. Have to hope this initial thought partition really collapses our opponent's hand. They are on a couple mulligans as well. Probably Reanimator or Oops All Spells. And it's going to be Oops All Spells. And their last card is likely to be a Reanimate here. If I were them, I might even take the Witch Enchanter. They're going to be empty-handed, so they probably don't care about Thought Partition. See if we can get them to just concede. They might also try to reanimate our... I was just saying they might try to reanimate Archon, but... Name human. One more creature, and we can take out their grief, and then they're going to be in a bit of trouble. And there it is. Also get to take a card from their hand. Choose death. And are we racing them here? I think we are. No block. So you can name human again. Thought partition. They entomb. Doesn't matter. They don't have the mana to cast it. Take the other one here. Down to 5. And that's game. This hand is okay. Just have to hope we get a turn. Try the Chromox first. Probably get rid of... It's either the Vanguard or the Lieutenant. Vanguard does give some protection. Lieutenant pumps the team more. I think we'll get rid of the Vanguard. And then to play around counter spells, we're going to lead on Thalia. Opponent uses Solitude. So they do have some non-creature spells in their deck that they care about. Otherwise, you would just leave Thalia alone. Green mana, so this is just a Beanstalk deck. That's why they wanted to get rid of Thalia. Ponder, yep. Makes sense. Opponent shuffles. And tap land. Don't think we need to play out the Ancient Tomb here. We'll just use Spellbinder. I imagine they have a Force of Will in hand, and that's what all these pauses are. Couple Force of Wills. Don't care about the Stifle. Maybe we take one Force anyway. Riddler. Did they get a land for Stifle? They did, so punished. What? That was a mistake. Let's see. Lead on the Peacekeeper. Get their other force. If I can find it in the list, alphabetical order. Yeah, don't know why our opponent isn't using their cards here. They just conceded. Maybe they gave up hope. This hand has no white mana. We can't keep it. This is a 2-lander. Doesn't play a hate piece until turn 2. Gotta go. This one we'll keep. And then have to put back Solitude. And one of these is getting pitched under Chromox. The other one we're going to cast. I think we're going to put back the land here. Looks like opponent has a force effect. I think Thought Petition goes underneath. Spellbinder can attack in for damage. They are going to force this, it looks like. They show and tell. So as long as they don't have a turn 1 send, we can try and disrupt them with the Spellbinder. I imagine they have another show and tell in hand since they pitched one of them. There it is, we'll take it. Only going to slow them down a little bit, so we need to find another hate piece and quickly. So really they only need 1 more mana. 2 turns though. Another Spellbinder, it's not the worst. Take the Omniscience, that takes it out of hand, so they can't put it in with show and tell. Should have brainstormed before playing out your land. They thought they were holding it in hand to hide some goods if we attack their hand again, but I think that was just a mistake there. They didn't even fire it off at end of turn, so a lot of trouble for our opponent. See if they drew into something with the show and tell. They did. Unfortunate, and we're not playing any removal in our version, so this is just going to beat us. We don't have, I guess there's the 1 Solitude, but we put it on the bottom and it didn't shuffle. The tutor can go grab another show and tell. Surprised they didn't take Emrakul instead. Because right there they could have tutored for another show and tell, put in Emrakul next turn. They're pretty well protected with the Traxa back on defense. No attack from our opponent. I think we are going to play out this other Crow Mox just to be mana efficient. Ancient Tomb has done 10 damage to us already this game, and this is going to get another show and tell. So that's the 4th one of the game. And looks like they have Omniscience. So we came up a little bit short here. They are still taxed. We have to take this block. They're just going to put in another one. And this turn, they're not going to be able to necessarily go crazy, but next turn, they're just going to run us over. What is this? Return target card from your graveyard to your hand. Yeah, brutal. Another Atraxa. Haven't found their Emrakul yet. And they're just cycling through their deck at this point. Doesn't look like they have a sideboard plan in this version. They might just have 1 card in there. We get 1 more spell here, and Emrakul will do it. So came up just a little bit short. This is a turn 1 Thalia, turn 2 Peacekeeper. We'll give it a try. Hopefully on the draw we're not too slow. You know, they dump things like their Mox into play already, then Thalia is not as strong. Lead on the Crow Mox. Looks like they have a counter spell in hand. Love for them to counter this, so we just play out the second one. Don't think Mistcaller would hold up priority there. That resolves. This is not a good matchup for us. Their creatures are likely to outscale ours. And our disruption doesn't do much against the creature-based strategy. We're really looking to disrupt combo decks. We will attack in here before they know what's coming next. Don't have to worry about counterspell, so we'll play out the Peacekeeper. They did have a Force of Will. Don't care about them tapping down a creature. Don't really care about Tidebinder. Take the Reejery. They attack in, we'll just take it. Not a good card here. They are holding up Counterspell. We could try and bait one with the Chromox. Didn't work. Would we sacrifice Thalia for one of these? I think we would. Again, our opponent's on a creature strategy, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. And they actually take it all. That is a bit surprising. I would have expected them to either take out Thalia or the Peacekeeper there. Now they hold back. I imagine this just gets countered. No point in attacking with the Peacekeeper here. We will attack in with Thalia again. And they're going to tap down the Peacekeeper maybe. I actually think that we need to hold back on defense here. We just don't have the creatures to attack in. Thalia can at least wall their board for the most part. No good block here. Unfortunate. Means we're probably just dead. They do an all-out attack next turn. We don't have enough blockers, so we lost this one. This hand looks good. With the Ancient Tomb, multiple basics, I don't think we need to play out the Chromox right away. We'll just lead on the Thorn here. Polluted Delta would lean towards Emeria control, and that's indeed what it looks like.
Curious. I must investigate this scroll further.
We'll play out the Spellbinder here. Next turn, we could play Thalia and Thought Partition in the same turn. Thoughtseize, don't really care about. Have to take the Psychic Frog. They're probably going to Bowmaster here. That's best case for us, although they do get to attack in with Tamiyo. Means next turn they could play out the Bauble and transform Tamiyo. Lead on the Thought Partition. Fatal Push is going to be a bit annoying. I think that's got to be the take, unfortunately. Strip Mine doesn't matter at this point in the game. They need the mana more than they need to destroy our mana. Thoughtseize can only take Chrome Mox. We'll attack in here, see what they want to do. They take it. Unfortunately, we do need to shock ourselves again here. Take out one of their clues. They play out the bauble for 2. Means they can transform Tamio. Well, now they need the land. So that was a mistake. They said they could transform on our turn, but they're not going to have the second untapped land here. That's a good top deck. Opponent is going to have to start considering chump blocking soon. Based on this pause, I assume they did not draw into another land. Otherwise, you would just hold Frog back on defense. They hold everything back here. Nope, still attacking with Tamio. This is great. Opponent wasn't dead yet, but we were going to put on a ton of pressure here with our attacks. Alright, so there you have the deck. And overall, it did exactly what it was designed to do. Punish unfair decks with our taxes. Very happy with pretty much how all of our hate pieces played out. You know, Peacekeeper, Spellbinder, even things like Archon, which were forced targets because of their impact on the games, all felt good. Obviously, cards like Clear and Conquer and Boromir not going to be useful in every matchup, so those are some flex slots you can play around with. Similarly, with the Coppercoat Vanguard and Thalia's Lieutenant, not mandatory, but they do help you close the game out faster once you've played a hate piece or 2. Depending on what decks you're playing against a lot, maybe put something like a Containment Priest in. We didn't really play against Reanimator today, but useful in those matchups. Also useful in Show and Tell as well. Opponent putting in creatures off the Show and Tell or from their Omniscience pretty much shuts down the game. And speaking of Show and Tell, that was one of the games we dropped today. They did get all 4 Show and Tells in that matchup, and we were just a bit slow closing out the game, which gave them enough time to combo off. The other one we lost was Merfolk, I believe, which is largely a creature-based deck, meaning it kind of circumvents a lot of our tax pieces, the Thorn, the Thalia, and such. And then because they play so many lords, they are able to go bigger than us most of the time, so I expect that one is a tough matchup. Another change you might look at making is maybe putting 1 or 2 Gemstone Caverns in the deck. Try and improve your play when you are on the draw. Help ramp out some of your 3-drops. But other than that, pretty happy with how the deck played out today. I hope you enjoyed the gameplay, and as always, I'd like to thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe for more content.